design a feature for lending goods on Facebook. Hello everyone, I am Viraj Gulab. I am super excited to welcome Pranav today. Pranav is our special guest. The reason being, he was also one of our first mentees, and I got chance to work with him to understand his career aspirations, profile. We worked together to set up some goals, and Pranav currently is working in Walmart as senior product manager. I still remember the day, Pranav, when you got the offer and you were super excited. I also heard you launched a few products in the first 7 months, and you got some award for that. That's amazing. I'm really happy we were able to help.
Thanks, Viraj, and thanks for having me here. It's always great to interact with you, and whatever guidance you have given me in our past definitely helped me. In fact, it is helping me in my career even these days. I'm working in Walmart as senior product manager and primarily catering to their data service, data privacy needs, data privacy features. And prior to Walmart, it's been around 7 months I joined Walmart, which is in last year, December. Prior to Walmart, I was working for Barclays as a product manager. And there, working for Barclays, I got opportunity to work on their marketing technology. I was managing a platform which was about sending targeted marketing campaigns to the Barclays customers after tying up with partners. And then I also got opportunity to work on their couple of insurance products. Barclays was my first company after my MBA. I did my MBA from SP Jain, Bombay, in finance domain. And while my MBA, I also got the chance to attend international exchange from Cornell University. Prior to my MBA, I was working for Oracle as associate consultant in their banking products division. So that's kind of a brief introduction about me, Viraj.
Right, and I'm sure you're happy with Walmart now.
Yes, indeed. And thanks for all the guidance. Walmart is a good place. Lot of good culture. There are a lot of opportunities to grow. A lot of people are there to encourage, share their knowledge, and I'm loving it.
Design a feature for lending goods on Facebook.
Sounds interesting, Viraj. Considering these days, people are, because of this pandemic and all, people have started using social media very often. In fact, the overall average time spent on these social media websites have increased. So with all this kind of an environment, I think it really makes a lot of sense to, as a Facebook, to venture into these all new areas and open a few more revenue generating opportunities. So sounds pretty interesting case. I have a couple of questions. So with respect to Facebook as a firm, when we see and when they plan to launch a feature which is on lending goods, is there from a leadership perspective, there is any specific objective in mind? Why are they looking forward on a broad product goal? Are they targeting the user engagement or user retention, or are they targeting for a monetization through this kind of a feature? What is the broad idea from the leadership before taking this decision?
Got it. Valid question. So as you know, Facebook's mission is to connect people and then also build the bonds all over the world. So company's point of view, the mission is try to understand what are the needs of these people, and if they want to lend some items to each other, enable it easily through Facebook. Obviously, we expect it to drive engagement on the platform. That's the first, I think, driver I would look at. Eventually, yes, if there could be some monetization opportunities, but we can probably park it for later.
Perfect. Makes sense, Viraj. And another follow-up question is that when we see this as a feature, do we have any key, I would say, when we see that user engagement as a broader metric, I feel that all the relevant metrics come into play. But if I may ask that, what are the broad timelines are we looking at to launch this feature? Is there any kind of constraint in mind or any kind of context, etc., which you would like to share before I start discussing about this topic?
That's a valid question as a PM. So from constraint point of view, we have good budget on this particular product. So we don't have constraint in terms of like resources. In terms of the timeline, we are looking to launch it in about 6 months. That's what we are aiming for. So 6 months could be the production launch. So think about your timeline accordingly.
Perfect. Okay, that helps. Okay, so I think I'm done with the questions I have. If you allow me a couple of seconds to just jot down my thoughts and start discussing on the things what I have in mind.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, okay, makes sense. So when I start, kind of starting my thoughts around this particular case, let me put my ideas what I have when I see Facebook as a product. So Facebook's probably a mission. Facebook's mission statement is to kind of help people connected with each other and remain closer to each other. I would say make the world a better place, at the same time facilitate connecting people with their relatives, with their friends, and kind of help them build their connections. So that is the overall agenda, or I would say the mission statement of Facebook. Now I am aware that as we look forward to this kind of a feature, we are probably concentrating more on the user engagement part. So let me kind of first start by segmenting the users or studying my users, as in what kind of users I have as Facebook overall platform. And once I do that, probably I would like to, based on various points what I have in my mind with respect to the users' goals, motivations behind using the Facebook, I would like to prioritize couple of user segments, and then I would look forward to understand all those prioritized user segments underserved needs. And once I do so, I would put my thoughts around what could be the big value propositions which we can bring when we see this feature landing feature, and then probably we can discuss towards the feature sets. What the feature sets can for those all prioritized value propositions. Make sense, Viraj?
Yes, that makes sense. I mean, that flow makes sense to me.
Perfect. Okay. So when I see about, I think with respect to this feature in mind of providing a functionality for people to lend their products, at the same time the people who are in need can borrow the products, I would probably on a high level like to categorize my user base based on their age and demographics. So when I consider that as a parameter, I would first classify my youth segment, which is like an age group of 18 to 30 years of age, 18 to 25 years of age. Second would be employed, matured people, which is like age group of 26 to 45. And the third segment of users would be the aged ones, which would include 46 plus till 65, 70 years of age, as in the people who use Facebook, right? Now,
Okay.
having segmented the users based on their age, let me kind of put my thoughts around what kind of usage patterns do these user segments have, what are their individual goals, and then what are their broad motivations behind using Facebook as a platform. So
Okay.
I would just few seconds to collate my thoughts for each of these user segments. Okay, so I have a few things in my mind to discuss about. So let's first discuss with the youth segment, which is like an age group of 18 to 25. Broadly, these are the people who are studying in universities, colleges, and young students, who are made, who are, who's and such kind of segments have got their primary goal as studying well, passing their exams, university. At the same time, avail all the necessities what they would need in terms of books, furniture, laptops, all the stationaries, etc. Right? And then all these kind of things what they are looking at are should be kind of on a temporary basis. They are not
Yes.
looking for success for a longer term, right? And then occasionally these guys opt for an expensive kind of a purchase. For example, let's say they need to attend some event, or probably because of some other situations they might need to buy four-wheeler, etc., because they are not easy, because it is not easy for them to transport for longer distances. But I would say the frequency of such high-end purchases would be relatively low in nature. The time spent or the usage pattern of this particular segment is these are the folks who are relatively busy with this with their study goals as well as their completion of their assignments, but they do have good enough time to spend on social media, remain connected with friends, do chats, etc. So I think on an average basis, on an average day, these guys have around 9 hours to spend on apart from their studies in college, to spend on using Facebook or for that matter any other social media platforms to remain connected, do some chit chats or discuss about their projects, etc.
Yeah.
Again, in terms of usage, I would bucket them into active use and passive use.
Mhm.
Active use, when I say active use, these that would comprise of people putting posts or people creating posts, right? Finding the events nearby. So using the Facebook as a platform actively. And there is a passive use of Facebook as well, wherein once somebody messages, then they gets a notification in their mobile and then they read that message. So those all things I would categorize as passive use. I think as when we look forward to this feature, we should be more interested towards the active use, and that's where I would see that this kind of user segment would use Facebook actively for around 3 hours on a day-to-day
Mhm.
basis. Now let's move on to the second segment, what we have, which is matured employed or employed matured, right? When I see the broad goals these folks have in mind is they obviously are employed people, so I would say their goal is to fare well in whatever work they do, take promotions. Probably these are the folks who have in the past collected debts because of their college studies, etc., and they might need to pay their debts. They have goals to buy car, buy house, because these are the people who are kind of married or in a marriageable age. When it comes to marriage, again, there are a lot of things to, a lot of areas to purchase on, for example, home decor, furniture, etc. At the same time, these guys are to some extent cognizant about making some good amount of savings for children, for future, for retirement, etc. Their routine task is obviously 9 hours of job, and then these are people who are more health conscious. They do regular exercises, etc. So when we consider all these things, right, these guys have responsibilities around managing their children, etc. With all these things in mind, I would say the usage pattern for the social media is comes from around 3 hours per day. Not as great as that of university students, but around 3 hours per day, out of which
So,
1 hour is
mhm.
an active use and 2 hours is a passive use. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. So going back to your previous point, so we're thinking the young students they spend about how much hours versus how much these young adults would spend.
Yeah, so young students are, as per my analysis, spend around 3 hours actively, and matured individuals spend around 1 to 1.5 hours actively.
Okay.
Now let's go on to the last segment, which is aged people. These people broadly have goals about primarily saving for their retirements, at the same time ensuring higher studies for their children. They are very conservative in terms of buying expensive items.
Yeah.
Probably they look forward to investing into stocks or probably fixed term kind of instruments, and they are cognizant about children marriages, etc. Their daily routine, these guys have relatively good amount of time to spend on social media platforms, do chit chats, be on WhatsApp or any other social media channels. At the same time, these guys are like also from the health perspective, visit hospitals regularly, have doctor's appointments, etc. Now, when I consider the usage pattern of these folks, I would again consider these guys having around 9 to 10 hours free time, out of which probably 3 hours they might invest for some reading, etc. Now, remaining 7 hours, 2 hours they can spend on talking to friends, etc. Out of those 5 hours, the remaining 5 hours, they might use 2 hours actively on social media or Facebook, right? So I think by now I have broadly explained all the three user segments, which is youth, the college-going students, the employed matured, and the aged. Now let me prioritize which two or which one target audience which we should target on while building this feature.
Okay.
I would say broadly, we should target young students and employed matured, and the
Okay.
reasons are the following. First of all, young students, as we discussed already, they have relatively good amount of time to spend on social media. At the same time, these are the audience who are looking at purchases of items like laptops, furniture for their study purposes, and then probably some expensive books. And these are the books which they would need on a temporary basis. I think for that matter, all the items which I have listed so far are required on a temporary basis based on the university or the city they are staying in. They are not purchasing it for long term, for family, for lifetime. Now, the second priority customer segment is the employed matured. And the reason why I'm keeping that as second priority, and for that matter, I'm including them as a priority segment, is because these are the folks who are looking forward to investing on some expensive goods. They are interested to spend on furniture, home decor kind of things, probably electronics equipment like washing machine, TVs, bikes, etc. And hence, these are like my second priority customer segment. Now, with having prioritized these two user segments, now I would like to focus on their underserved needs.
Okay.
And then we can look forward to the value proposition. Any comments, any thoughts before I move forward with respect to discussing their underserved needs, Raj?
Yeah, I like the idea you talk about underserved needs. Can you explain how do you define between regular needs versus underserved needs and why you prefer that?
Yeah. So the regular needs are the ones which are the necessities for accomplishing my goals or doing my routine tasks. But at the same time, I have a lot of options to get those needs fulfilled. By underserved needs, what do I mean are actually the customer pain points for which there are not relatively good options available as of today.
Makes
And that's
sense.
where, as a product manager, we can build features so that the user can engage with our features and get their underserved needs.
Got it.
I would like to have few seconds to jot down my thoughts around underserved needs, Viraj, if you allow me.
Okay. So are we picking a particular segment? Yeah, we said two segments you're picking, right? Okay. And so for those, you're thinking about coming up with some kind of underserved needs. Okay. Okay. Yeah, take your time.
Okay. So I have few ideas in my mind. Let me start with the young students. The very first underserved need which I feel is that these guys need some materials for their studies, like high-end laptops, good furnitures like tables, etc. And at times these might become unaffordable for them. At the same time, it doesn't make sense to purchase these for the lifetime. They might be looking forward for a temporary basis.
Yes.
So this is one. Is on the transport front. In case they are staying far from their universities, they need to go to their universities. Probably they might need to rely on cabs, etc. But at times, on a regular basis, these might become quite expensive. So these guys are looking forward to those transport options. At times, books purchase might become also too expensive. And this is not probably for every cases, but yeah, there might be some cases wherein books are like also become a bit unaffordable. Now, these are the three, I would say, probably the underserved needs for young students, thinking from the background of this feature in mind. Employed, matured, these guys again are look forward or very aspirational. They look forward to purchasing expensive cars. At the same time, they are not able to afford them. These guys are looking forward to purchase home decor and furniture equipments which are luxurious, but again, affordability is a constraint. These guys are very health conscious, look forward to purchasing high-end exercise equipments because they have time constraints going to gyms, and hence they would look forward to owning them or probably having them at their home so that they can do their exercise workouts. And then with respect to high-end electronics, washing machine, TVs, etc., when it comes to high-end, I think at times these also might become unaffordable. So considering all these underserved needs, now I would look forward to value propositions. As a feature, broad value propositions can we bring for these users in our product and help them meet their goals. Make sense, Viraj?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. I think let me map all these underserved needs with the value props, and then allow me a few seconds, and then I would start illustrating my value propositions.
Okay.
Okay, I have few broad ideas in my mind, and when I state each of these value propositions, first I would not be cognizant about prioritization. Once I list them out, then I would, based on couple of thoughts, I would prioritize these value propositions. Let me begin with first of all, having a feature to have all these goods in the pipeline or in our inventory, so that whenever there is a demand of borrowing, we can fulfill that demand.
Okay.
So, and broadly, I would like to cater to expensive electronics as a segment or a category comprising of TV, washing machines, dryers. Secondly, I would like to cater to expensive home decors and furniture. And thirdly, exercise equipments. I think I would deprioritize books and vehicles, because that might invite challenges like registration formalities, RTO, government officials, things like that. So these are like having the goods for as an inventory. Second is helping the customers find the products. So having search bar kind of capability with all the categories defined the way it works on an e-commerce kind of website for searching the products. Thirdly is ensuring, I would say, every time ensuring the supply of the goods whenever these are in demand, and mitigating possibilities of out of stock kind of things, because that might not bring a lot of good user engagement or user experience. Then comes facilitating all the services which are required. For example, transaction of money, transportation of goods, insurance in case we are borrowing some items and we are providing insurance for those products, returns, security deposits, in case there are some disputes, legal policies, etc. Having a feature to verify the authenticity of goods, so that we can eliminate then the possibility of reselling theft goods on our platform. Right? Then comes, I would say, partnering with all the service providers, delivery agents, packers and movers kind of folks once these goods needs to be transported. Then comes the legal part of things, facilitating agreements between lenders and borrowers with all the insurance formalities. Then comes providing a feature to give knowledge about the products themselves. What are their descriptions? What are their ways of use? What are the customer reviews, etc.
Okay.
Then listing out the rent prices. If in case you want to borrow this good, you need to pay this much amount of rent for so much tenure. In case you want to prolong your tenure, you would need to pay so much amount of rent on a monthly basis, things of that nature. And then probably another value props is facilitating some kind of negotiations between borrower and lender in case there is any possibility to do that. Now, these are the broad value props which I have in mind, but I would like to prioritize since I have kind of listed around 10 to 12. I think
What kind of framework do you use for prioritization?
Yeah, so I would say first I would look forward to from the customer's point of view or the impact. What impact would it bring as a business, at the same time helping the customer solve their underserved needs, what we discussed before. The second is, I would say, second prioritization framework I would start including when I discuss my feature sets, because that's where I would be interested to build all those features. So I would say for value props, I would just consider customers' underserved needs and the impact. Make sense?
Okay.
So, having discussed all the value propositions, I think I have listed around 10 to 12. Now I would like to prioritize those value propositions. So if you can allow me a few seconds, I would like to just kind of pick mark, and then I think we discussed already that how am I prioritizing, and I am applying the impact, customer impact while prioritizing these value propositions. Okay. So broadly, I would say the very first value proposition would be ensuring the supply of goods in demand. Right. Second value proposition is helping the customers search the products which they need. Third value proposition is catering to situations of out of stock and ensuring a streamlined inventory of goods which are in demand. These are the must-haves which I feel. Apart from these, I would say tying up with service partners for the transport of goods is also kind of a must-have, because at times it becomes difficult for the people to get the goods from the person who is borrowing them, from the person who is lending them. And then I would say the last value propositions which is on my priority list is obviously showing the product description, customer reviews, and the rent, whatever the lender is quoting.
Right.
I would
so keep kind of to the feature part of it. I mean, considering the time that we have, would like to understand how would
Yeah.
you, based upon this value proposition, kind of translate to features and then help us with the prioritization.
Sure, Viraj. Allow me few seconds, just few seconds.
Okay.
So I have few feature sets prioritized. First is having a search bar for products, categories, and based on their descriptions as well. So for a laptop kind of a purchase, in case the customer can provide the configuration of the laptop, still it should be able to search for you, right? The way it happens on any kind of e-commerce portal. Second feature set is providing a capability for partner onboarding. What do I mean by partners here? Partners are the people who are looking forward to lend their products. So having a capability for partner onboarding. Third is from the customer's perspective. Now, since we have built the features to serve the product, etc., in case by any chance there are some out of stock kind of situations, providing a capability or building a capability to put applications, or I would say the posts about their demand, as in they are looking forward to this kind of a product which is kind of out of stock, so that probably they can post their demand, which can be fulfilled later.
Got it.
Apart from onboarding the partners, I would also look forward to build a capability to onboard my service providers with all the input page, etc., to have all the fields captured. One feature for messaging between buyers, as in the borrowers and the lenders. Then all the templates for the goods descriptions, for the price, for the rents, putting the images of the products, and uploading the past bills or invoices of those products. And in case they have some insurance, etc., they can upload all those documents. And then I have two moonshot ideas here, which I would like to mention. One is, I would say, it's typically the recommendation engine part, the way e-commerce companies show a lot of recommendations to the customers. So applying all the ML capabilities based on the customer's past behavior, transaction patterns, understanding the needs, recommending them some products which are there in your inventory. And this can be, you can apply the location-based criteria as well, as in the products which are nearby, you can recommend those things to the customers. And the second moonshot idea I have is, when it comes to fulfilling the demand from the customers, and in case there are no lenders readily available nearby, Facebook as a company might look forward to venture into a domain wherein they can enter into contracts with the vendors or the suppliers of the goods, as in the people who are selling those goods through their showrooms, etc. When it comes to purchases like expensive electronics equipments or furniture, etc., they might look forward to enter into those kind of contracts. And at the same time, and let me just kind of finish that. At the same time, when they kind of plan to do so, probably they can also look forward to providing features like interstate delivery to meet those supply demand kind of.
Got it. No, that's an interesting way to look at it, because I was initially thinking whether we're just learning between the people on Facebook, but it's an interesting way to expand the selection where you have to expand the platform, and it's a good idea. I like it.
Okay, thanks for that. So these are my broad feature sets. I would like to prioritize few of the features for my first release or MVP, and then the second bucket of features for my subsequent releases. And I think when it comes to prioritization, the search bar is a must-have, which would come to my MVP. Partner onboarding capabilities, again, a must-have. We can park the capability of posting the goods which are in need, which are not available, etc., for the later releases. The onboarding of service provider, again, I would consider as a must-have. And then messaging between buyers and suppliers, I would also consider that as a must-have. And all the capabilities to list down my products with all the descriptions, documents, etc. All those things would be my must-have for my MVP.
Got it. That sounds good. What kind of metrics would you use to measure the success of your MVP? If you could list 2-3 metrics.
Yeah. I think that's a good question, and I would need some time to kind of look, jot my thoughts around those. So I think here I would like to think from two directions. One is the very broad product goal, what we had in mind before thinking about this feature itself, which is like user engagement, right? And second, I would say from the feature sets perspective, whatever features I mentioned a couple of minutes before, from each of these features perspective, what are the relevant metrics we should look at? So let me first start with the user engagement as a whole, what we had in mind initially. And I see and I think that when we think about user engagement broadly, I feel that we should look forward to the usage patterns or the time spent by the people who are coming to our platform. And here we can look forward to metrics like the numbers of users on a daily basis, the number of users using this feature on a monthly basis. The second metric is the amount of I would say the number of hours spent per user per week, the number of hours spent per user per month. The third metric, which is again more of user engagement focused and related to our feature as well, is the number of products searched through our feature per user on per month. And I would say number broadly overall as well, without including users in my denominator, the number of products searched through my platform on a monthly basis, on a daily basis. And the last metrics from the user engagement, and it's partly also monetization, is the number of products purchased and the value of money exchanged through my platform on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, and on daily basis. So these are the metrics from the user engagement perspective. Now I have a couple of metrics from the feature sets, whatever I mentioned before. In order to gauge the success of my search bar as a feature, I would like to see the number of successful searches happened through my search bar. Once the user searched, they arrived at the right product, and they eventually ended up either viewing the description of the product or probably transacting that product. From the partner onboarding perspective, the number of partners onboarded on a monthly basis. And again, in terms of partners, I would like to bucket them into also not just with respect to the number of partners, but also with respect to the number of products being listed on my platform through these partners on a monthly basis. And here again, the other thing which I have in mind is based on the value of the product as well. So the number of products of value higher than INR 20,000 listed on my platform on a monthly basis.
Got it.
When we see about expected
The high-end products you're talking about.
Correct. Then with respect to product description, the number of, I would say the number of features we have with respect to describing the product in terms of the ways of using that product, the invoices, bills. We can put one more capability of verified purchases and all. So the numbers of these features we are bringing in to ensure authenticity of the product or to educate the customers about the product. That is my another metric. And the last, with respect to messaging part, is the number of messages exchanged between the borrowers and the lenders through my messaging feature. How fast, as in order to gauge the performance, how is my messaging feature performing? Is there any lag, etc.? In order to gauge that kind of a metric, the average time spent the moment customer sends a message to be delivered to the receiver. In case there is a lag, probably I would like to kind of optimize that kind of thing. So that another metric I would like to consider from the messaging feature perspective.
Got it. And so you mentioned about the platform. So are you thinking about using the existing Facebook app or web platform, or should it be like a standalone application? How would you make that decision?
Yeah. That's a good question, Raj. And I think when we make that kind of a decision, we should ideally look at the customer journey, right from the customer opening the Facebook app on their mobile device or on their website till the time they leave the platform, right? And when I consider that kind of user journey in mind, the funnel, how it looks like is people landing on Facebook.com or opening the app. Second is people browsing through the number of posts, whatever they have in their homepage, how many posts did they browse, etc. So they would browse that. That is the second step in my funnel. The third step in my funnel is the actions they are taking on those posts. Either they are liking, commenting, etc. And then in case they are doing some messaging, etc., that is the second step, or I would say the subsequent step in that funnel. And then probably in case they are looking forward to engaging through other features like gaming available on Facebook, the various games, social games, etc. And then Facebook has a feature like Marketplace, etc. So are they engaging with that? In case they are engaging with all these features, again, I would like to consider those funnels as in features for each of those funnels.
So we're thinking about using kind of existing Facebook app, and this could be kind of new menu.
Yes, so let me complete that. So what idea would this kind of analysis would give to me is that once I analyze this overall funnel along with the engagements, etc., I would like to decide that are the users spending good amount of time with the existing features already? Let's say with respect to the news feed, or let's say with respect to gaming platform, etc. Or are they kind of not using those features, but rather switching into the marketplace or a gaming kind of feature and not using the core Facebook as a feature altogether, right? So I think I would like to keep that in mind that my feature should not cannibalize the existing features. And considering that in mind, I think once I do that kind of an analysis, I would be in a right state to decide whether a new platform for this kind of feature would make more sense, or providing a same a tab on the Facebook existing facebook.com for the user to land onto another page and start engaging with all the features I have would make more sense.
And so follow-up question, so you start with this particular product, and after 2 months down the line, we have some other product that comes up and we decide to take away some of your resources. You still want to hit your timeline. So will you still consider building the separate app, or would you try to flip to Facebook and then dial up your product first and then try to do this evaluation?
Yeah, if I got the question correctly, I think you are referring to a situation wherein we have a dearth of resources available with us. There are a lot many other features to work upon, and hence I think we are facing some challenges in terms of hitting the timelines what we were expecting before, or probably I would say assuring that the bandwidth what we should have to build those features. Is that the right understanding?
No, let me put it this way. Like initially when you asked about the constraints, we said there are not many engineering constraints. I mean, you can get the resources that you want. Now you write this proposal, it goes to say a leadership meeting, and we say, but we have some resource constraint now. So we want you to do the job with 1/3 of the initial proposal of resources that you had. So would you make some trade-off in terms of doing a separate app or using the existing one?
Yes. I think that's an excellent question. And I would like to have few seconds before I come up with my thoughts around it, Viraj. I think I have few thoughts in mind. I think I would like to start these kind of discussions first understanding from the stakeholders' perspective. Has there been a misalignment in terms of understanding the importance of these features in the first place? So in order to kind of discuss those in a more constructive way, I think I would like to focus again on probably the cost-benefit kind of analysis, which I would have done in the very first instance while pitching my idea or while pitching my product. And that's where I would like to quantify in terms of user engagement, etc. How important is this particular feature in terms of increasing the time spent from the users or driving more audience? In case I would have got a chance to do some hypothesis validation through some prototypes and discuss with the potential customers, take their reviews, and I would have got some positive reviews, etc. I would keep all those things as my discussion points with the senior stakeholders and the teams. So this is one part about quantifying the idea, doing some analysis and appreciating the impact of it, and making that transparent with the stakeholders so that everybody is on the same page in terms of understanding the priority of it. The second part is, let's say in a situation wherein despite doing all that, again, since we have some more important features in line, or probably a relatively equally important feature, and that's where the bandwidth is becoming a constraint, I would look forward to an option of borrowing resources from teams. The Facebook as an organization has a lot of teams, and here I would say the very relevant feature as that of this lending is a marketplace. And marketplace feature today, I would say the resources who would have worked there, that might not involve a lot of learning curve for them to start working on my idea. And in case there is a bandwidth available after negotiating with my stakeholders and the seniors, I would look forward to get some more resources in my team in case bandwidth is becoming a constraint.
Got it. So you're this okay. So what you're saying is, if there is some situation where there are constraints on the resources, you're kind of showing a backbone here and try to explain the importance of the idea or the impact, incremental impact of it And then based upon that, you still want to go and try to find more resources or beg, borrow, steal type of option, or try to get something from more similar platform like marketplace. Okay, that makes sense. I think another question I have is, I think you answered most of the questions that I had actually. We can, I think, actually get into the feedback part of it.
Okay.
So in terms of, let me think. All right. So Pranav, when we started this with the question around design a feature to lend goods on Facebook platform, you explained initially, you asked probing questions about, hey, what do you mean by lending goods? What is kind of our goal here? Could be engagement, could be monetization. So that was helpful to set the context. And it's a good idea always to set the context at the start, set the goals at the start so that you and interviewer are on the same page. So that was a job well done. Going forward to that, you talked about the customer segments. We talk about three segments, primarily the young students, then adults who are working professionals, and then third are the old people who are probably retired. You did a good job in explaining their personas, I would say, like what do they do, how do they use the social media, for how long do they use it, what are their needs, and then you jumped really well into the underserved needs, which I think is really the crux that as a product managers, we should aim to solve underserved needs of customers, because that is what is going to give the most incremental value to customers. And then also from company point of view, you get more incremental benefits. So that's a really nice way to look at it, the underserved needs. I think you probably picked up this from Dan Olson's book, I think, if I am correct. So I also read that book, pretty good one. Then going further, you talked about how do you take these value propositions and translate into the features. It was a very broad question to start with, and I think you did a good job in explaining how will you really pick the must-have features for your MVP. One was search. I mean, without search, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Chatting options or onboarding the service providers. These were really well thought out. I like the moonshot idea. I mean, it didn't also come to my mind that, yeah, we could, instead of lending only within people, we could enable businesses to start lending this stuff, and especially the expensive items. And then eventually, I like the way you explain the metrics, the depth to which you went in terms of either active users or in terms of the amount of money that is getting transacted. You thought through the delivery aspect of it, like kind of end-to-end experience. I think your e-commerce background bit helped here. I think from that point of view. So overall, a job well done. If I could think about certain areas of improvements, there are maybe a few of them. One would be when you talk about the user segments, it's really tough for interviewer, or at least I also felt that, to understand the segment based upon the age. So I'm just been remembering those numbers: 18 to 26, 26 to 46. Instead, I think the approach that you followed later was good, where you talk about, hey, we are going to talk about either young students, or we will talk about the second segment is working professional, third segment is old retired people. That kind of combines their the user segment and their persona into one word, and that's easy to follow for an interviewer. I would recommend that as one thing. Second piece is the opportunity sizing. Maybe you could have done, you could have thought about doing more of opportunity sizing upfront, where you could have put on your analytical hat and said, hey, in terms of engagement, most of our users, or X% of our users belong to young students and working professionals. Also, there could be potential more monetization opportunity if you think that way. And because of these two factors, it's XX users opportunity annually, or $6 million opportunity. That's why I would pick up these two segments. It could be, I mean, any other metric, but thinking about putting the opportunity size upfront might help you to convince the interviewer why you picked one segment versus other, and it's more like a data-driven approach. Another one feedback is about metrics. So being an experienced PM, I was also trying to understand, will you come with something like counter metrics? You mentioned that briefly in the cannibalization part of it, but when you launch some feature, do you think that is reducing the number of active users on the other parts of the Facebook? Or Do you think your feature is resulting into lower revenue for, say, marketplace? Maybe doing that as part of it, A/B testing. If you could mention that, that will be helpful. I mean, whatever you did, that was like good. What I'm trying to tell you is kind of going one step further and think about when your stakeholders are sitting in your meeting and someone from marketplace is questioning you. This type of things would help, I think, to get the alignment. But overall, pretty nice job, and I'm very happy that we were able to connect and we were able to get your thoughts. And wish you all the good luck for your journey at Walmart. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Viraj, and thanks for sharing such a detailed feedback. Every time I have mocks with you, I get a lot of inputs to work upon. And I think the opportunity sizing part really makes sense. Having a data-driven approach is like the heart. And I think I should have done some justice to it. In terms of the counter metrics, again, a very good thing, which I think I should have kept in mind. And I think I would look forward to kind of including all these things in my subsequent analysis, etc. Whatever I do as a PM in Walmart, for that matter, any use cases which I would work for.
All right. No, wish you good luck, and we look forward to you. Maybe come someday as a speaker to Mentor Me Good platform, and we look forward to seeing you more. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Viraj. Thanks a lot.